In this video, I'm going to be covering how to set up an Omega Masternode on a Hive OS rig. I really like running Masternodes on Hive OS rigs because it just kind of adds that supplemental income to already running systems. And so today we're going to set up an Omega coin Masternode. Omega is very cheap right now. In fact, an entire Masternode I think only cost me 19 cents to get the collateral on self-exchange. So I went ahead and did that, and we have just over 1,000 in our wallet. First thing we're going to do is we're going to send ourselves. We're actually going to create a new receiving address first. I'm going to call this MN Masternode. And let's go ahead and copy that address. We're going to send exactly 1,000 coins to that address. And if you followed any previous Masternode videos, this should look extremely similar. It's based off of the Dash Core Masternode configuration. So those are sent. We'll want to wait for a confirmation. To confirm, let's just go ahead and jump over to our transactions tab, and here we can see, alright, there's 2 of 6 confirmations on that one already. So let's go ahead and proceed with the next step, which is going to be tools, and we're going to pull up the debug console. And in here, we're going to type Masternode space outputs and then press enter. And here we can see our transaction ID and our index. And now we're going to create the private key. So we're going to do Masternode gen key. This is going to generate a private key. At any time, if you feel you want to change your private key, you can just rerun this command and generate a new private key and switch it. Now that we have these, I'm just going to go ahead and copy these lines. We can close this. We're going to go to Tools, Open Masternode Configuration File. And within here, go ahead and paste these down here. We need to create a line. I like to just copy one of these lines and then modify it. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're just going to call it Masternode, and then in here we need to put our IP address, and this needs to be your public facing IP, and then we just need to plug in our private key is going to be the first param. Let's go ahead and replace that, and that's going to get followed by the transaction ID, which is then going to get followed by our index, which in my case was actually 1. And we can go ahead and delete all this. Can save that. Can close that. And then what I like to do is actually close out of the core wallet and reopen it. So that's what we're going to do. And this is telling us that it's actually an invalid port, and that is because their sample has the wrong port number in it. Lovely. So if this happens to you, easiest thing to do is to go to the C drive, go to users, go to your username, and then we're going to go into app data, which is a hidden folder. So I'm just going to type it. Then we're going to go into roaming. Then we're going to find Omega. Here it is, Omega Coin Core. And we can double click the Masternode file here, and let's switch that port to the correct port, which should actually be 7777, not 8. Go ahead and save that. Now let's try to relaunch our core wallet. And there you can see it launched perfectly fine without error this time. So just make sure that whenever you modify that Masternode config file, you use port 7777. Now the wallet config's done for now, and so we just need to jump over to our server that we want to run this on. So I'm actually already SSH'd into my node server, and first thing we're going to do here is I like to create a user per master node to kind of keep permissions separated between each node. So we're just going to do an add user, and I am going to call this Omega node. Oops. We need to do a sudo, and we need to give it a password. Confirm the password, and I'm going to give it a name of Omega node, and I'm just going to hit enter for the rest of these. Hit Y to confirm, and now we have our user. Next thing we need to do is we want to switch to that user, so we're just going to do a SU and Omega node. Enter the Omega node password, and we want to make sure we are in the Omega node's home folder. So we're just going to do change to /home/Omega node. Once we confirm we're in the home directory and we don't have any folders there, we're going to go ahead and I like to create a folder, and I'm just going to call this Omega node. We're going to switch into that, and this is going to contain the executables for the Omega network. Then what I'm going to do is hop on over to the GitHub for Omega. I'm going to right click on the daemon, copy link address, come back over to our node. We're going to do a wget, paste in the daemon, and let this download. Now that's downloaded, we also want to grab the CLI, which is going to be Omega Coins -CLI. Once that's downloaded, we're going to do a chmod plus X on both of those. So I'm just going to do chmod plus X Omega asterisk, and that will apply to both. And now we're going to go ahead and move up to the parent folder. So we're back in our home directory, and we're going to make a directory called .omega coin core. And now we're going to change into Omega coin core, and we're going to do a nano. We're going to create a config file called omegacoin.conf. This is going to be your typical core node config. So we want, for this one, we want server equals 1, listen equals 1, daemon equals 1, Masternode equals 1, that's very important. Disable wallet equals 1, meaning we don't want any wallet transactions to happen on this core node. And then our Masternode address, we're going to have to plug in here. Just leave that blank for a minute. And our Masternode private key, we're going to have to plug in as well. So for our node address, let's do that one first. That's going to be our IP address, 12.131.2.166, and it's going to be the port number you used in the Masternode config file on your wallet. So in our case, it's all 7s. And then we also need to grab our private key. I'm just going to hop on over. We can do tools, open Masternode configuration. We can copy the private key. You can paste that here. Do a Control X, a Y, and an Enter to save. And the next thing we want to do is I'm just going to run top command to see how much memory we have here. And it looks like I've got 18 gigs free, so we've got plenty of memory free. If you have less than 2 gigs free, make sure you create a swap file or increase your existing swap file size. Now that we have that config file generated, we're going to go ahead and move up a parent folder. And then we're actually going to change into the Omega node folder. And I'm going to run Omega Coin D. And what I like to do the first time I'm running this, I like to do a hyphen print to console so that I can see all the output that's happening, and if there's any type of errors like permission errors or blockchain errors with, you know, maybe my IP was banned for some reason or it's not establishing connections, I can see that from here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of wait, and here you can see it's already syncing, so this is good. It is establishing a connection. It's syncing down the blockchain. As you can see, this blockchain first started back in February of 2018. So we're just going to let this run and sync the entire blockchain. This could take several hours, depending on how many nodes are up and running. So we'll just let this run and we'll resume once it's done. Now that the sync's done, and we can validate that by saying here, if we look at these update lines, and the progress should be 0.9999 or a 1. And if you see that, we can go ahead and stop it, and then we're going to set this up to run as a service. So we're just going to click in this window, do a Control-C, and that will actually shut down the daemon. And we can just verify that it's not still running in the background. Once you do Control-C, just give it a minute. Let's make sure everything gracefully shuts down. You might see a couple outputs still being printed to the screen. And then you can type a top. And let's just make sure it's not running anymore. It is actually still running. So what we can do is let's just go ahead and do a kill all. Oops, yeah, it's still running. So let's do a kill all Omega Coin D. Hit enter, and that will actually shut it down. Okay, so shutdown is complete. And if we try to run kill all again, it should tell us no process found. Alright, so now we can go ahead and create our service config file. And what I like to do is I like to switch back to the user account. So we're going to do an su space user. We're logged in, so now the next step is to create our configuration file for the service. So I'm going to do a sudo nano /etc/systemd/system/omega.service. And in here, we're going to create several lines. And we want a few tags. So we're going to do unit. We're also going to do service. And then we're also going to do install. Under the unit tag, we just need description and define any dependencies. So for description, we're just going to call this Omega service. And on the after, we want to make sure it doesn't run until network connection is established on boot. So we're going to do network.target. And then under service, we're going to set the type to forking. We're going to set the user to our Omega user we created, so Omega_node. We're going to set the group to the same thing, Omega_node. And then we're going to set the working directory to our folder that we created that Omega config file in. So this is going to be /home/Omega_node, our username, /Omega, dot Omega Coin Core. That is the folder that we created that configuration file lives in. And then we're going to define the execution start file, or start command, and also the stop command. So for the start, we want /home/Omega_node, which is our user, /Omega_node. This is the folder we put the executables in that we downloaded from GitHub. And then we want Omega Coin D -daemon. We're not doing print to console this time because this is actually going to run as a background service, and it's automatically going to output everything to a debug file that we can always open and look at. And then we want the execute stop to basically be the same thing, except instead of the daemon argument, we're going to pass stop without any hyphen. Then we want to set restart to always. The private temp, set that to true. The timeout stop in seconds, we'll set to 60. The timeout start in seconds, we'll set to 10 seconds. The start limit interval, we're going to set this to 2 minutes, so that'll be 120 seconds. And our start limit burst is going to be 5. This will prevent it from constantly trying to restart itself over and over and over and over again in the event of a failure. And then under install, we just want to do wanted by and do multi-user.target. And that should be it. Just do Control X, a Y, enter to save. Now we need to do sudo systemctl daemon-reload. It's going to reload it. And then we'll just do a systemctl. You can either do start or restart. Restart kind of handles the start as well. So that's what I'm going to do. You just do omega service. And let's see. It says invalid argument. So let's do a status. And let's see if we type something wrong. It looks like we missed an equals on one of our lines. So we'll just go back to the file we created. And it looks like under the stop command, forget to put an equals in there. Do Control X, Y, save. We're going to do a daemon reload again because we modified that file. Now we can run a restart, and there we can see it started. And now if we do status, we can see it is running. Next thing we want to do, we want to check and see if firewall's running. So we're going to do sudo ufw status. Firewall's turned off, so we don't have to handle any type of opening of ports or allowing of ports here. And our next step is just, let's make sure it's running. So to do that, I like to do a tail. Actually, we want to do sudo here, tail -f. This will do a follow. And we're going to do /home /omeganode /.omegacoincore /debug.log. And what we should be seeing here is in real time we should see these logs. And here you can see they'll just keep refreshing. And here we can see it's running. That node is running. And it just looks like there's pings happening from some of the other master nodes. No big deal there. So now our next step is going to be to jump on over, and I'm going to first make sure I have this port forwarded on my router. I'm going to do that real quick. Let's just verify the IP address. Should be 211, which it is. I'm going to jump over to my router and make sure I'm forwarding port 7777. Just configured my router, so now I'm going to go ahead and pop open a window, and let's make sure that the port is open from the outside. So we're going to do port 7777, do a check, it should be green, so it tells me it's open, so we're good there. So now the only thing we need to do is to jump back over to our wallet and actually start it. So we head on over. The first thing we need to do is we need to turn on the Masternode tab. So you can just come to settings, go to options, go to the wallet tab. I like to enable coin control and also show Masternode tab. We're going to hit OK. It tells us a wallet restart's required. So go ahead and close out of the wallet. Wait for it to fully shut down. Go ahead and reopen it. Now we can see the Masternodes tab is open. We just want to give this a minute, let this sync. It's going to sync the blockchain, which is only 1 minute behind. And then it's going to also sync all the Masternode info. So we just need to wait for that to complete. Now that that's synced, let's head on over to the Masternodes tab. Make sure you're on My Masternodes. And you can see it says missing. We're just going to go ahead and select it, hit Start Alias, hit Yes. And then it'll jump to pre-enabled. If we hop back over to our SSH window, we should actually see, if we run that tail again, we'll actually see it pop in here. And here you do see we have a message saying not capable, it can't determine our external IP. And to set the external IP in the config file, let's just double check and make sure that is set. And it is not, so we want to do external IP equals, and it can just be the same as the Masternode IP, or the Masternode address. 52.166:7777. Do a Control X, do a Y to save, enter. Now what we want to do is we want to restart the service. So we're going to do a sudo systemctl restart omega. And it's going to stop the service, then it's going to restart it. And now if we do a tail command again, here we can see that service is starting back up. It's advertising our address. And here you can see it started our node. So we should be good to go. But what I like to do is I like to come over and do update status. If this switches to missing, or if it doesn't switch to enabled in like 30 minutes, then you just come in here and do start alias again. So now at this point, we'll just wait until we get our first Masternode payment. If we jump over to the Masternodes, and we see there's quite a lot of Masternodes on the Omega network. So it might take some time to get that initial payout. It's been a few days since I set up the Omega Masternode, and I have received some payments. So I just kind of want to talk about those real quick. So hop on over to the Masternodes tab. You can see my Masternode has been up and running for 3 days, 3 hours without any downtime. If we hop over to the Transactions tab, you'll see I originally spun it up on the 8th, and I didn't get the first payment until the 13th. So if you're not getting any rewards, give it a few days, give it up to a week. It may take some time before you get that first payment. However, once you get that first Masternode reward, they should start coming in. And what you can see here is the amounts vary with the blocks. So I got 0.73, 0.45, then I got a Masternode payment of 1.64, 0.8, 0.9, 0.9, 0.45, then we got a 1.27, 1.27, 0.19, or sorry, 0.91, 1.09, 0.73, 0.9, 1.5, 1.09, 1.09, 1.27, and then another 0.09. So what we're looking at in rewards so far is we've received just over 18 Omega coins. And we'll continue to let this run. At this point, everything is up and running, working good. We can see we were getting our Masternode payments. And obviously the rewards aren't going to be as high as with 0.1 coin. However, Omega's on a lot more exchanges. It has a little bit more valuation than 0.1 did. And so we'll just continue to let this thing run, accumulate coins, and most likely set up some auto exchanging for Bitcoin, and then just maintain our collateral in the wallet.